What if the truth behind a Hollywood legend's death was more chilling than any conspiracy theory? When Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, were found dead in their secluded Santa Fe mansion, the scene was nothing short of haunting. Mummified bodies, a lifeless dog, and 2 surviving pets roaming the house. Details so bizarre, they sparked a wildfire of speculation. Was it carbon monoxide poisoning, a sinister cover-up, or a hidden tunnel so disturbing it left FBI agents in tears? The answers are out there, and we're about to uncover them. The underground tunnel. The mysterious deaths of Hollywood legend Gene Hackman, his wife Betsy Arakawa, and their family dog sent shockwaves through the world. And as if their deaths weren't perplexing enough, the initial autopsy reports revealed way more questions than answers. The chilling discovery inside their secluded Santa Fe mansion sparked endless speculation, leaving fans and investigators desperate to uncover the truth behind the eerie scene. With no clear cause of death and the strange state of the bodies, it led to wild speculations on the internet, and conspiracy theories started to gain a lot of traction. For instance, one of the most chilling conspiracy theories to emerge from the tragedy suggests the FBI uncovered a hidden tunnel beneath Gene Hackman's home, filled with 701 bodies. This grim tale, amplified by sensationalist creators on TikTok, X and YouTube, spread like wildfire, drawing millions into its dark web of speculation. Theorists claimed the tunnel was part of a secret operation, with some alleging Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, were involved in human trafficking or other sinister activities. Some conspiracy theorists even connected their deaths with the ongoing P. Diddy's case. The idea of a sprawling underground network beneath their serene Santa Fe mansion captured imaginations, painting a picture of a double life shrouded in unimaginable horrors. However, investigations by reputable sources, including Snopes, have thoroughly debunked these claims. No evidence of a tunnel, bodies, or criminal activity linked to Hackman or Arakawa has ever been found. Law enforcement agencies confirmed their deaths were not tied to any such discoveries, and there's no record of the couple ever being under FBI investigation. Even Jesse Kessler, Hackman's longtime handyman, who discovered their partially mummified bodies, reported nothing suspicious beyond the tragic scene itself. But this tunnel conspiracy theory is nothing in front of what I'm about to discuss next. You see, there is a viral theory that claims Gene Hackman was silenced in connection to the death of the infamous millionaire Jeffrey Epstein. The theory suggests Hackman, disgusted by powerful elites protecting Epstein's network, was preparing to expose damaging information, specifically the alleged client list of Jeffrey Epstein. For context, Epstein was accused of running a global sex trafficking ring, exploiting underage girls, and leveraging his connections with the world's most influential figures, including politicians, billionaires, and celebrities like Prince Andrew, Bill Clinton, and Donald Trump. His 2019 death in a New York jail, officially ruled a suicide, sparked widespread suspicion that he was silenced to prevent him from revealing the names of his powerful associates. By the way, Epstein's death in itself gave birth to a lot of conspiracy theories that do make sense. You see, Epstein was found dead in his jail cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York, despite being on suicide watch just days earlier. The cameras outside his cell allegedly malfunctioned, and the guards tasked with monitoring him were reportedly asleep and falsified logs. Additionally, Epstein had previously claimed to have information that could implicate powerful individuals, leading many to believe he was murdered to prevent him from exposing their secrets. The combination of his high-profile connections, the timing of his death, and the glaring security failures have left many convinced that foul play was involved. The theory connecting Hackman to Epstein is built on some seriously creepy details. Some say Hackman owned property close to Epstein's private island, Little St. James, though there's no solid proof of this. Others hint that Hackman had loose ties to people in Epstein's circle. What's more, Hackman was reportedly frustrated with how shady the Epstein case seemed, leading some to think he might have known something big. His death happened around the same time rumors were swirling that new names from Epstein's files were about to come out, which only adds to the mystery. The idea that a Hollywood heavyweight like Hackman could have been about to blow the whistle fits right into the darker stories of powerful people silencing anyone who threatens to expose them. True or not, one thing can be said with certainty, that this conspiracy theory made a lot of sense to many who believed that Hackman had nothing to lose due to his old age. Like this user on X, who believes that Hackman Hackman was murdered in a big plot to cover up the alleged list of Epstein, or this person who believes it was just not the right time for Hackman to release that sensitive information to the public. By the way, a post was shared on X, which claimed that the actor Gene Hackman purportedly made a tweet about Jeffrey Epstein's client list before his death in February 2025. It turned out to be fake news, since the handle referenced in the post on X does not exist. Also, as several social media users linked Oscar-winning actor Gene Hackman's death to the release of the infamous Jeffrey Epstein files, far-right commentator Alex Jones busted the theory. The radio host claimed that he knew Gene and his wife for decades and called the Epstein link baseless. While the two rumors I mentioned earlier still have a sliver of plausibility that made people buy into them, the next one is so bizarre it feels like it's straight out of a horror movie. Yet, somehow, it gained traction. The claim is that Gene Hackman was a member of a secret Santa Fe-based witchcraft cult known as the Healer. This wild accusation even briefly appeared on Hackman's Wikipedia page before being quickly taken down. But for some, the damage was done. The idea stuck. According to the theory, the Healer wasn't just some harmless group dabbling in rituals. It was allegedly a dark, underground cult involved in sinister practices, including blood sacrifices and occult ceremonies. One user on X took it a step further, claiming that Hackman, his wife Betsy, and their dog were all part of a ritualistic blood sacrifice. The theory suggests that their deaths weren't accidental or natural, but were instead orchestrated by the cult as part of some twisted, otherworldly pact. While there's zero evidence to support any of this, the sheer eeriness of the idea, combined with Hackman's mysterious death, was enough to make some people wonder if there was a grain of truth hidden in the shadows. Whether fact or fiction, the rumor adds another layer of darkness to an already haunting story. But here's the thing, these theories wouldn't have even taken root if the deaths of Gene Hackman, his wife Betsy, and their dog hadn't been so deeply unsettling. The circumstances were strange enough to leave everyone, fans, investigators, and even seasoned law enforcement, scratching their heads. There were just too many unanswered questions, too many odd details that didn't add up. The scene was so baffling that it became a breeding ground for speculation, with theories sprouting like weeds in the absence of clear answers. Even the Santa Fe County Sheriff, Adan Mendoza, openly admitted that foul play couldn't be ruled out, adding fuel to the fire. When officials can't provide clarity, it's no wonder people start filling in the gaps with their own stories, no matter how wild they may seem. And in this case, the mystery was so thick that even the most outlandish ideas began to feel possible. The bizarre deaths. Right from the start, the deaths of Gene Hackman, his wife Betsy Arakawa, and their dog in their secluded Santa Fe mansion were shrouded in eerie and unsettling details. Authorities arrived to find the couple's bodies in a state of advanced decomposition, mummified, with bloated faces and dried, shriveled hands and feet. Hackman was discovered fully clothed, lying lifeless in a room off the kitchen, his cane resting beside him, a grim and haunting image of a Hollywood legend's final moments. Betsy's body was found in the bathroom, with a prescription bottle and scattered pills on the counter nearby. Moreover, the couple's dog was found dead in a closet, while two other dogs in the house were miraculously still alive. Officials estimated that the bodies had gone undiscovered for up to 2 weeks, which explained the mummification, a result of the dry, high-altitude climate of Santa Fe, sitting at nearly 7,200 feet above sea level. As first responders searched the home of French Connection star Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa on February 26th, the couple's two surviving dogs, Bear and Nikita, played an unexpected role in the grim discovery. Upon entering the secluded Santa Fe, New Mexico mansion, authorities quickly found Betsy's body splayed on the bathroom floor, a haunting image that set the tone for the investigation. But it was the dogs who led the first responders to the mudroom, where Hackman's lifeless body was discovered. The strangeness of it all was enough for authorities to call the deaths suspicious and launch a full investigation. Santa Fe County Sheriff Adan Mendoza even said foul play couldn't be ruled out. The search warrant put it bluntly. The circumstances of their death were suspicious enough in nature to require a thorough search and investigation. But with no official cause of death released, people started filling in the blanks. One of the first theories was carbon monoxide poisoning, a quiet, invisible killer that makes sense in a place like Santa Fe, where gas heaters are common. Carbon monoxide is odorless, colorless and deadly, sneaking into your bloodstream and cutting off oxygen to your organs. Every year, it kills between 1,200 to 2,000 people in the US, often without warning. But when the New Mexico Gas Company combed through Hackman's home, they found nothing. No gas leaks, no carbon monoxide, no evidence to support the theory. One of the most baffling aspects of the case, and one that left investigators deeply unsettled, was the death of the couple's dog. The Kelpie mix, named Zinner, was one of their 3 dogs. She was found dead in a crate inside a bathroom closet, not far from Betsy Arakawa's body. But here's what doesn't add up. How did only one dog die, while the other 2 survived for weeks in the same house? What could have possibly caused Zinner's death while Bear and Nikita remained unharmed? The inconsistency is jarring, raising more questions than answers. Was it an accident? Or something more sinister? And why was Zinner in the crate in the first place? To make matters even more confusing, there was a glaring error in the initial reports. Authorities first stated that Hackman's German Shepherd, Bear, had been found dead alongside the couple, but it was later revealed that Bear, along with another dog, Nikita, was actually alive. It was Zinner, the Kelpie mix, who had died. This mistake, seemingly small, cast a shadow of doubt over the entire investigation. If something as straightforward as identifying a dog could be mishandled, what else might have been overlooked? Were other crucial details missed by the authorities? Could evidence have been mishandled or ignored? By the way, this was one of the details many conspiracy theorists pointed out, as they believed the authorities were deliberately trying to hide crucial information from the public. Another detail stands out, one that only deepens the mystery. The person who called emergency services reported that the front door of the property was wide open. That person was Jesse Kessler, Gene Hackman's longtime handyman. But here's where it gets strange. When detectives arrived and entered the home, they found no signs of forced entry. Nothing inside seemed disturbed. There was no overturned furniture, no belongings rummaged through, no valuables missing. It was as if the house had been frozen in time, untouched by chaos or intrusion. The scene was eerily calm, almost too calm, considering the grim discovery that awaited inside. Kessler, the handyman who made the call, didn't actually open the door. He stood outside the property, peering through a window, and waited for the police to arrive. He never stepped inside. So, if Kessler didn't open the door, who did? An open door in a home where no one had entered or exited for weeks. This small but crucial detail sends a chill down the spine. Also, the timing of their deaths became another layer of the mystery. Hackman's pacemaker provided a crucial clue. His final heartbeat was recorded on February 17th, marking the likely moment of his passing. But when did Betsy die? That question left investigators scratching their heads. There were no clear answers, only speculation. Did they pass away around the same time, their deaths somehow linked? Or did Hackman die of a heart attack after discovering Betsy had already passed? The uncertainty only added to the unsettling nature of the case. The idea that Hackman might have been alive for days after Betsy's death, or vice versa, paints a heartbreaking picture of isolation and despair. At the time, renowned forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Baden suggested that the deaths of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa were the result of a tragic accident. He pointed to Hackman's long history of severe heart disease, coronary artery disease, and high blood pressure, theorizing that the Oscar-winning actor likely succumbed to a sudden cardiac arrest in the mudroom. But it's what he said next that tied their fates together in a haunting way. Dr. Baden believed Betsy may have died while trying to save her husband. He painted a grim picture. She may have struck her head on the way down and suffered an internal brain injury that wouldn't be visible from the outside, or bleeding inside the brain. Or, at 65, she could have had severe heart disease herself, and the stress of the moment might have triggered a fatal cardiac rhythm, leading to her death under those circumstances. I think the first scenario, striking her head, would be more common. In other words, the sequence of events might have unfolded like this. Hackman collapsed. Betsy, in a frantic rush to help him, tripped, fell, and hit her head, or the sheer shock and adrenaline overwhelmed her heart, stopping it cold. It was a heartbreaking theory, one that imagined their final moments as a desperate, tragic struggle. At the time, the cause of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa's deaths remained a mystery, with investigators waiting on autopsy and toxicology reports to provide answers. But as anyone familiar with these processes knows, such reports don't come quickly. That waiting period, a gap filled with silence and uncertainty, became fertile ground for speculation. It was during this window that conspiracy theorists swooped in, spinning wild, elaborate tales about what might have happened, from secret cults to underground tunnels, from sinister cover-ups to otherworldly rituals. The theories grew more outlandish by the day. Yet, As shocking as some of these stories were, they all shared one thing in common. They were completely false. And then, finally, the moment arrived. The truth was unveiled, not in the form of a dramatic revelation that some conspiracy theorists would have wanted, but in a quiet, heartbreaking conclusion: the autopsy report. Investigators had been piecing together the timeline of events leading up to the deaths of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa since their bodies were discovered in their home last month. According to Santa Fe County Sheriff Adan Mendoza, the last known activities of Betsy Arakawa were traced back to February 11th, the day officials believe she died. Here's what the timeline revealed. At 11:21 a.m., Betsy had an email conversation with her massage therapist. Later that afternoon, she was seen on surveillance video at Sprouts Farmers Market between 3:30 and 4:15 p.m. From there, she stopped at a CVS pharmacy in Santa Fe, where she was captured on camera between 4:12 and 4:20 p.m. Her errands continued as she visited a local pet food store at approximately 4:54 p.m., with her car appearing on surveillance footage. At 5:15 p.m., the remote control clicker assigned to her vehicle was used to enter the gated community where she and Hackman lived. This was the last confirmed activity tied to Betsy. Investigators noted that numerous emails on her computer from February 11th remained unopened, and there was no outgoing communication or known activity from her after that date. Based on the evidence gathered so far, all signs point to February 11th as the day Betsy Arakawa's life came to an abrupt and tragic end. The autopsy report confirmed the cause of her death. Hantavirus pulmonary syndrome is a rare and deadly disease caused by a rodent-borne virus. It is a severe respiratory illness caused by hantaviruses, a family of viruses carried primarily by rodents like deer mice. The disease begins with flu-like symptoms: fever, muscle aches, fatigue that can easily be mistaken for a common illness. But within about 10 days, the infection takes a devastating turn. Patients develop coughing and shortness of breath as their lungs begin to fill with fluid, a condition known as pulmonary edema. This rapid progression can lead to respiratory failure, and without immediate medical intervention, the disease is often fatal. The virus spreads through contact with infected rodents or their droppings, urine, or saliva. People can become infected by breathing in contaminated dust, when cleaning areas where rodents have nested, touching contaminated surfaces, and then their face, or in rare cases, being bitten by an infected rodent. What makes hantavirus particularly insidious is how stealthy it is. Most people don't realize they've been exposed until symptoms appear, and by then, the disease is already advancing. But despite the fact that hantavirus pulmonary syndrome is extremely dangerous, it is quite rare as well. Since the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention began tracking it in 1993, there have been only around 860 reported cases in the United States. This rarity makes Betsy's death even more shocking. How did she contract it? Was it in her home or somewhere else? The thought of such a rare and deadly illness striking in the quiet confines of their Santa Fe mansion is really shocking. Then came the moment to reveal the cause of Gene Hackman's death. Dr. Gerald, the forensic pathologist overseeing the case, revealed the findings from Gene Hackman's full-body post-mortem CT examination. The results showed no signs of acute internal or external trauma, ruling out foul play or physical injury as the cause of death. Instead, the scans painted a grim picture of Hackman's declining health. They revealed severe heart disease, including evidence of multiple prior heart surgeries, past heart attacks, and significant damage to his kidneys caused by chronic high blood pressure. The examination of his brain uncovered advanced Alzheimer's disease, along with blood vessel changes linked to years of untreated hypertension. Laboratory testing conducted at the Scientific Laboratories Division further confirmed that Hackman's death was not due to infectious diseases like COVID-19, influenza, or other common respiratory viruses. Tests for hantavirus, the disease that claimed Betsy's life, came back negative, as did tests for carbon monoxide poisoning. There were no autopsy findings to suggest hantavirus or any other external factors played a role in his death. And then it was time for a new revelation that was even more heartbreaking and unsettling: the time of Hackman's death. If you ask me, his death is far more traumatizing to imagine. A slow and agonizing end compared to Betsy's, which authorities believe was relatively quick due to the rapid progression of hantavirus. And when asked the deeply unsettling question about whether Hackman was able to live on his own for 7 days, Dr. Gerald gave a response that is disturbing to say the least. Dr. Gerald also shared some critical details about Gene Hackman's final days, shedding light on the state of his body at the time of death. She examined the fluid levels in his body to determine if he had been been dehydrated, but found no evidence to suggest severe dehydration. However, she did discover signs of very poor kidney function, indicating that Hackman hadn't been drinking much water in the days leading up to his death. And when questioned about the possibility of starvation, Dr. Gerald confirmed that Hackman's stomach was completely empty at the time of his death. There was no food present, suggesting he hadn't eaten for some time. This revelation adds another layer of tragedy to his final days. It shows that he was too weak to eat or drink. That said, the image of Hackman, alone in that quiet mansion, slowly wasting away without food or water, is both heartbreaking and haunting. There was also the haunting question of whether Gene Hackman knew his wife, Betsy, had died, or if he tried to seek help in his final days. Dr. Gerald acknowledged that this was a difficult question to answer, given Hackman's advanced Alzheimer's disease. She suggested there was a possibility he may not have been aware that Betsy had passed away. But even if his memory was failing, the thought of him searching for her, calling out into the silence of their home, is deeply unsettling. Betsy was not just his wife, she was his caretaker, his protector, and his lifeline. Hackman's close friend, Tom Allen, revealed just how devoted Betsy was to her husband. She managed his medical appointments, ensured he stayed as healthy as possible, and was fiercely protective of him. Allen even said that Hackman seemed happy to let Betsy run things, and without her care, he believed Hackman would have passed away long ago. Betsy's love and dedication were the glue that held his fragile world together. So, what happened when that lifeline was suddenly gone? Can you imagine Hackman's state? Physically weak, mentally disoriented, waiting for the help that never came. Even if his Alzheimer's had erased memories of Betsy, authorities can't rule out the possibility that fragments of her presence lingered in his mind. Did he call out for her, confused and desperate, only to be met with silence? Did he try to get help, but found himself too weak or disoriented to follow through? One crucial detail offers a heartbreaking clue. Hackman was found in the mudroom with his walking cane and sunglasses beside him. This suggests he may have been trying to leave the house, perhaps to seek help for Betsy, or even for himself. But his weakened body and deteriorating mental state likely made it impossible for him to follow through. The image of him collapsing there, alone, and unable to comprehend what was happening is almost too painful to imagine. Adding to the tragedy is the fact that Hackman couldn't call for help, even if he wanted to. According to Tom Allen, Hackman didn't own a mobile phone and was uninterested in technology. In a world where a simple phone call could have saved him, Hackman was utterly cut off, isolated in a home that had become a prison. Now that we know the heartbreaking fate of Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy, what about their dog Zinner, who tragically passed away while the other two dogs survived? The Santa Fe County Animal Control Agency's report provides some grim details. Zinner, a Kelpie mix, was also found partially mummified. The report noted no signs of infectious disease, trauma, or poisoning, though severe decomposition made it difficult to examine her organs fully. What they did find, however, was equally disturbing. Her stomach contained only small amounts of hair and bile, indicating she had gone without food for a significant period. Zinner was discovered deceased in a crate inside a bathroom closet, not far from Betsy's body. The examination concluded that the cause of her death was dehydration and starvation. This means Zinner endured a slow, agonizing end, trapped in a confined space without access to food or water. The thought of her suffering in silence, alone and forgotten, is almost too painful to bear. How long did she wait, hoping for someone to come and save her? Did she whimper or cry out, only to be met with the same eerie silence that filled the house? If you ask me, the truth about Zinner's death is far worse than what experts initially speculated. Early theories suggested that Zinner might have ingested spilled medication found on the ground floor, leading to a quick and relatively painless death. While tragic, that scenario would have at least spared her prolonged suffering. Oh, and one last thing, the estate of the late actor Gene Hackman has petitioned a New Mexico court to block the public release of autopsy reports, photographs, and police body camera footage related to the deaths of Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa. For over 3 decades, Hackman and Betsy lived a quiet, discreet life in Santa Fe, far from the glare of Hollywood and the public eye. The estate argues that releasing these sensitive materials would violate their legacy of privacy, exposing their personal lives to unwarranted scrutiny, and potentially tarnishing the dignified image they worked so hard to maintain. The materials in question are said to include graphic images and footage from the death scene, which the estate believes could be deeply distressing to the family and the public. Once released, these materials could spread rapidly, fueling sensationalism and making it impossible to retract them. The estate emphasizes that such a release would not only disrespect the couple's memory, but also cause unnecessary pain to those who loved them. By the way, New Mexico's open records law typically blocks the release of sensitive images, especially those depicting the deceased, but autopsy reports and death investigations are often considered public records to ensure government transparency. This leaves the court with a difficult choice: balance the public's right to know against the family's right to grieve in peace. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, check out the suggested content on your screen by clicking one of the cards displayed.